I want to talk about transfer deadline day before we finish. Alfie, you expecting a quiet day tomorrow? Is it going to be a busy day? What time are you running a live blog?
Yeah, we run a live blog from midnight tonight until midnight tomorrow, effectively. I spoke to the club, obviously, before the game on Saturday, and the verdict was, yeah, it probably will be a fairly quiet one. Obviously, they have got that Premier League loan slot available. So I guess if something comes up, they could use it. But I suppose nothing they do is going to be free. They've made a bid for this Abubakar Silla. I may have butchered his name. I do apologise. The loanee from Strasbourg, which they hope will be done. I mean, it's not done by any means. I think, to be fair to Fabrizio Romano, I think he broke that sort of within minutes of them making the offer. So clearly, there's a bit of agent work there to try and raise the profile of that signing. But they hope to get that done off the back of a couple of injuries, I guess, to their centre backs, and they feel they need a bit of depth. So there's always something that could happen. If something comes available, then it'll be interesting. But there probably maybe it's the outs, the departures that are slightly more prevalent. We'll see what happens.
And the Sam Amo rumor today, or by the way, we're recording this on a Sunday night, so by the time you get around to listening to this, he may well have gone. But I didn't see that coming necessarily. What about you?
No, I saw a loan coming for sure this year. But I mean, I guess the one thing to say about that is that he is out of contract next summer. So if you send him out on loan to a championship team or whatever, and he comes back and he doesn't have any interest in signing a new deal. I'm not saying he does or doesn't, I don't know. But if he doesn't have an interest in a new deal, then you are under pressure to sell him then. You're under pressure to make something happen. Kind of similarly to how Jayden Magoma was sold to Brentford earlier this season. And I guess, I'm told it's about 10 million euros total financial package. It's a really good profit at the end of the day. I mean, on Magoma and Amo-Ameyaw, they've made about 20 million quid almost, if everything's paid up, for players who they bought for 1.5 million quid 2 years ago when they were 16. So, I mean, on business, it's really good. And I know Steve and Glen will have their own opinions, as will every fan. I've watched a lot of Sam Amo for the 21s, and I think he's a really good player. He's a really nice kid. And I feel that in every chance he's had for the first team, he's done really well. He's obviously scored a goal against the Cardiff B team, but also in Premier League games, he's come on and made a small impact in the 5 or 10 minutes he's had. He's only 18 years old, so he's not ready for the Premier League right now, which is why he hasn't been playing, and that's probably fair enough. But it's just, I think it's a sad sort of state of affairs, and I don't know what's happened, but if it's a case of he's upset that he hasn't played enough, or people are telling him that he should play more, it's a shame because he's 18 years old. Liam Delap is 3 years older than him. It takes time for these players to mature and develop physically and technically. And I believe that he's going to be a really good player who's worth more than 10 million quid or 7 or 8 million quid. But yeah, if he wants to go, then I guess they don't have too much choice.
There's a lot of stuff, Glenn, that we will probably never know, about agents and parents and whether he thinks he should be getting more of an opportunity than he has. But whichever way you look at it, it's a talented player that's going to be leaving, and that's not a good sign.
No, it's a bit of a strange one, because I think everyone accepted that him going out on loan for the second half of the season would have been a good thing. I didn't realise this. So that's summer 2026. His contract, I assume. So. Yeah, so he'd have another year. Are we that desperate for the money? It's a bit worrying if we are, because at the end of the day, it's not like someone's offered 30 million quid, is it? It's 7 million euros I saw, 10 million total, which is about 10 million total. That means that's before all the bits go to all the interested parties, isn't it? So, yeah, it doesn't seem like a huge amount of money, but on the other side, I'm going to be balanced in my argument for once. If I throw a few names at you, Jimmy J. Morgan, Jayden Magoma, Cammy Doyle, they've all disappeared. They've all left the club and they've all done nothing, basically, at either Premier League level or Championship level. They've not done anything. So there's nothing to say that we're going to, at the moment, there's nothing to say we're going to miss any of those. And they wouldn't have been any use for us this season. Obviously, you can never tell what's going to happen 3 or 4 years down the line, but I think there is definitely a thing with a lot of young players do have a lot of voices in their ear, telling them they're better than they are, telling them they need to get away. I mean, I still think Saints have a reputation for a reason for being a good club to be at if you're a young player, and we've got a player from the academy. Yes, he's exceptional, but Sam Amo in this case should be aspiring to be as exceptional as Tyler Dibbling is.
Yeah.
And, I just hope for
his academy as well.
Yeah,
not the only
Well,
one.
this is the thing, right? But I mean, these lads, and you mentioned obviously Jimmy J Morgan, Jaden Magoma, Cammy Doyle. They're 18 years old, and we've got this because of exceptional cases like Tyler and obviously players of the past who do come in and make an impact at that age. That isn't normal. Technically
No.
they could be playing 12 for 3 more years. They shouldn't be. So players are going to develop at the age of 20, 21, 22. And I think it's just a sad state of where we are at the academy that, for example, players like Harrison Miles, who joined Man City when he was 15 years old this summer, one of the best academy prospects, really highly rated for the under-16s age group in England. And Saints had absolutely no power over what he did this summer because he was on an early scholarship, and that's not a real professional binding contract. So at the end of that scholarship, they can go anywhere for free. And he did. They agreed a fee in a tribunal and whatnot, but they didn't have any power to stop him. If you get through that stage, you then get to the player, they sign their first professional deal at 17. We're now getting to the point where by the time that professional deal comes to an end when they're 18 or 19, they haven't yet made it into the first team because they're 18 or 19, but they've already done enough in the academy game that now bigger clubs want them. So it's really difficult for clubs like Southampton to keep players from first that 16-year-old age group and then get them actually to sign that contract when they're 19 to stay until they're 22, 23. And it's worrying because, obviously Brexit has affected it. All the bigger clubs now hoovering up all these young talents. And who's going to be left for clubs like Southampton? Very few.
Yeah, it's a problem, but there's no will to change it. There's no will from the FA. It's like the Burnley lad was talking about closing the gap between the Championship and the Premier League. There's no will to do it. I've got this pet theory that there will be a will to change PSR rules because the bigger clubs are now not able to spend money. Manchester United haven't got any money, and that makes the world go round. Manchester United, for example, signing players, that makes the world go round. It makes Fabrizio Romano's world go round. It makes the agents' world go round. So that's the sort of thing that I can see changing. But what happens at the lower levels and academy levels, I don't think anyone gives a rat's about, to be honest. Certainly not for clubs like Saints. But it's always been the case that, we can't sit here and say it's oh, woe is us. We've taken players off of Plymouth. We've taken we nicked Theo Walcott years ago from Swindon, I think it was.
The player in question, Sam Amo from Spurs, when he was 16, for a bargain price.
That was the what was his name? Shields, wasn't it? Joe Shields. He was involved in that one. So he came at the same time as Jaden Magoma, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
So these young players have obviously got it in them to do this sort of thing under advice from someone else. And I think this is just what's happening here. And you just hope for the lad's sake that if he does want to go, that he doesn't just like lose valuable opportunities in his career because he's jumped too soon. But there is a world of difference between having flashes in games and doing well, like Sam Amo has. There's a world of difference between having flashes in games to being a Premier League or a Championship footballer who can play 90 minutes every week. There's a world of difference between that, and the club obviously don't think he's ready to do that yet, and he or his advisors obviously think he is. So so that's how you end up in the situation that we're in now.